Hi, listeners. Welcome to the She Speaks Life podcast, a weekly encouragement where we share our God stories. I'm your host, Jayme Elizabeth, and I am so glad you are spending time with us today to listen. Hey there, I am so glad you chose to listen to today's episode. Here with me is my dear friend and author, Christine Trimpe. She is a former guest on the show a while back and shared about her health journey on losing over 100 pounds. So if you haven't heard her story yet, go back to, I believe it's season 2. We're in season 5 with the episode 2 right now, but season 2, episode 10, and you'll hear all about her inspiring God adventure healing journey that he took her on. It is so amazing. So I am so proud of my Christine and everything God has been doing in her life. She has been featured in so many published magazines, including Women's World, Women First, and Reader's Digest. She is not only a weight loss warrior, but my personal encourager and an amazing author of her book, newly released, called Seeking Joy Through the Gospel of Luke. It's a 25-day Advent that we get to talk about today. Yes, we get to talk about Christmas, and she is going to share about why joy was so challenging to her. And if you told her she'd write a book on it, she'd laugh in your face. And she refers herself to a former casual Christian, which we get to chat more about. I'm so interested in that. But first, Christine, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, Jayme, for having me. I am overjoyed, of course, to be here with you today on She Speaks Life.
Yeah, I love having you. Of course, it's so much fun when you have your close buddies on here. But I have to say, I just got an email that says Halloween today. It was on Halloween, but Halloween today, Christmas tomorrow. So I'm laughing because we completely skip over Thanksgiving. Am I right?
I know. It for this year, for me in particular, I'm telling God, I'm so grateful, I'm so thankful, and I'm not going to forget Thanksgiving, but I'm in full mode of sharing the good news of great joy through this
Yeah.
Christmas devotional. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, of course. This is like your baby that you just gave birth. So,
Right,
um,
exactly.
yeah, okay. So let's just dive right in. I want to hear, when we hear about joy, and somebody writes a book about joy, we're thinking, oh, well, good for her. She's got joy. But you, in your case, this was a challenging thing for you. So I'd love for you to just tell us what were the challenges of joy and, where this concept really stemmed from to write the book.
All right. Well, I guess I'll give a little background history, not too much, because as you mentioned, people can go back and listen to our former episode together. But I came to
Yeah.
a turning point in my life. And at that time, I realized that I had no understanding of the true concept of joy, of the true meaning of joy. You
Mm-hmm.
introduced me as a former casual Christian, and I was raised in the church. And I took my kids to church mostly, just to get the checklist items done so that my parents wouldn't be disappointed and my grandparents at the time wouldn't be disappointed. And I never had that deep and abiding relationship with Jesus to gain a true understanding of joy. Most of my
Mm-hmm.
friends would probably tell you that I was a happy person, but deep down inside, I was filling up and trying to satisfy myself with all the wrong things, through a food addiction, through materialism, just trying to keep up with the world. And yet at the same time, feeling isolated and lonely and rejected and like I didn't belong anywhere because of the struggles that were in my heart that I didn't really share with a lot of people at the time of how truly sad I was. And there's a huge difference I discovered in happiness, wearing a mask of happiness, and then
Yeah.
finding true joy in a relationship with Jesus. And fortunately, he brought me around to that after many years, many decades of living as a casual Christian. I finally had to
Mhm.
cry out to him in my chronic health issues, and I had tried everything for 30 years in my own power to release and reverse my obesity and all the other chronic health issues that were mounting. And he heard my cry, and just like Psalm 40 says, he lifted me up out of a pit. And then Psalm 40 ends with David just singing God's praises, and it talks about joy
Mm.
and rejoicing at the end of Psalm 40. And that is, I love that psalm. It's truly what happened to me, and it gave me a newfound freedom and the experience of true and lasting joy.
Yeah, that's so good. I know with my own experience, I really had to learn that joy is not based on your circumstances. Thank you, Jesus, right? 'Cause
Amen.
life life is full of valleys and not just the highs, but the lows. And to experience that joy and then just have everything around you just seem chaotic or, just messy, it's so supernatural. It's just you can really feel, gosh, this is a heavenly fruit. And I've experienced it myself firsthand over the years of our struggles with financial hardship and other things in life that had, produced that. Joy is definitely not dependent on what's going on in your life. And it's the joy we have in Christ. So you
Hmm.
started out writing about Luke,
Hmm.
and then came the concept God was giving you this desire to write it into a book, into an Advent
Hmm.
devotional. So if you can just take us through that little part of the journey as you're writing the book, that'd be awesome.
Okay, this is kind of a crazy story. And like you said, knowing joy is available or is in our hearts through the good times and the bad, the happy, I call
Yeah.
it the happy and the hard, because I have recently been through some really difficult family hardships and trials. And once I met my weight loss goals, at first I was like on top of the world, and I was sharing with everybody, and like joy was just overflowing. And then my world came crashing around me with some health issues and a diagnosis that my son had of a traumatic brain injury from a car accident. And we just didn't know what was going on. And so we're still dealing with that. It's a very difficult situation. But the one thing I learned through that is that the joy was deep down in my heart. It was down, that song, I've got the
Yeah.
joy, joy, joy,
Yeah.
joy. I remember that from when we were kids. Yeah, when I was a kid, I had very warm memories of Christmas. My parents always made it very special for us. And I tried to do the same for my children. But as my chronic health issues started mounting, I really felt like Christmas started to become a chore, and it felt very
Mhm.
overwhelming to me, because I was chronically exhausted. Being 100 pounds overweight left me exhausted and in a foul mood. My kids used to call
Mhm.
me Krabby Patty, like in all their
Oh,
fondness. They used to call me Krabby Patty, but I was very prone
right.
to crabbiness and had a very short temper. So the years that I was raising my kids were the years that I went through all these chronic health issues. But it was in recent years that once I went through this health and healing journey, that the Lord, very early in my health and healing journey, praise God, the Lord finally prompted in my heart the super importance of being in His Word every day, because I had never done
Mhm.
that in the past. So He started waking me up extra early in the morning, and that is like my favorite time of the day. I call it my
Mm.
Bible and Beans time, which is what I
Yeah.
named my blog after. So I started getting in the Word every day, and everything
Mhm.
just started changing dramatically. Not only did I lose the weight that I had failed to lose for over 30 years because I tried to do it in my own power, but then I started remembering my fond memories of Christmas, and I wanted to bring that back. I wanted to refocus Christmas not on presents, like how I used to try to always make sure my kids got the presents that they wanted, and focusing on
Right.
all the wrong things at the time. But I started to shift my focus, and on his presence in Christmas.
Mhm.
And I wanted to go back and make things right for my family and shift the way we thought about Christmas. So I began blogging through the Gospel of Luke beginning in 2018. And I would just share on my blog like little memes and daily snippets, like a takeaway from each chapter. So the reason I picked Luke is because there's 24 chapters in Luke, and I like to count down the days before Christmas. So starting on
I love
December
it.
1, yeah, I read Luke 1 and then would blog a little bit. And then on December 2, read Luke 2, etc. So last year, I looked around the world, and I'm sure all of your listeners and you can identify with this too, but there was so much weariness and frustration and overwhelm with our very unusual Christmas that we were facing last year. And
Mhm.
the lyrics to Oh Holy Night, "The weary world rejoices," kept playing over and over in my mind. Now, that's my favorite Christmas song, but it was just like
Mhm.
obsessively playing over and over in my
Yeah, it was
mind.
stuck
I
on
would wake
repeat.
Yeah, I was stuck on repeat, and I would wake up thinking, "The weary world rejoices," and I would be like, "Yes, Lord, I am so weary," and I would pray for
Yeah.
relief from that, and then he reminded me of this joy that he put deep down in my heart, and he prompted me to share that joy. I mean, I feel like I always share joy, but he prompted me to write some more, like expand your blog post. It's not just going to be daily little memes and snippets. I want you to write like a full chapter. And so I
Mm.
began doing that on December 1st last year. And I thought, there is no way I can write like 1,200 words a day and post them every day and keep up with this. But
I love.
somehow he supernaturally gave me the ability to do that.
Mm.
And so we got through that Christmas season, and about halfway through, I had an idea that he was going to bless me with making it into a book. And
Mm.
sure enough, in January, I reached out to a publisher and they accepted it. And now this book has been birthed into the world. And when you
Mhm.
have unspeakable joy, like what I experienced through this healing journey and just through, developing a much deeper relationship with him, we say it's unspeakable joy, but have to speak about it. I can't keep quiet
Yeah.
about it.
No.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love your obedience and you saying
Mm.
yes to this. I have to read what you wrote in your introduction because it was so good. I'm like, ooh, highlight. There's only one in quotes, gift that never fades, breaks, or doesn't fit properly or go out of fashion. And then dot, dot, dot. God's word. It's in the word that you will discover the gift who brings life, hope, and joy. That gift is Jesus. And isn't that true? Because how many of us get so tied up in getting the it gift, and obsessing over it and hunting it down. And then even this year, they're saying, you better get your gifts early because they're going to be sold out, And so we can get so tied up in the materialism of Christmas. And I think that is a joy sucker. I mean, really,
Oh,
it doesn't make you a joy seeker. It sucks your
right.
joy. And so I've been there. I'm speaking of experience. So I really love that you just kind of went, put it in perspective here, and keep
Hmm.
the focus on, Jesus is the true gift that will never fade. Like we open presents Christmas morning and then we always have this letdown. I mean, I do. I just like you calm down because there was just
Hmm.
this anticipation, tons of preparation, and then boom, it's over. You're coming down, you got the gifts, and it fades away, and those things will be out of fashion next year. So I love that you bring it back into perspective that the word in Jesus, it never fades, it never goes out of fashion, and he's the
Hmm.
one that brings that everlasting, it doesn't go away, of life, hope, and joy. And just right there, I mean, that just will uplift your mood. And I just really love how you take us through the different accounts of joy. And it's just woven throughout Luke. I mean, I just
Mhm.
probably when I read Luke, I'm not pulling the different aspects of joy out of each chapter, and you did that so well. And then you have these reflection questions at the end, and what are some joy challenges? I mean, you just have us all ponder and really reflect and ask ourselves about what's the true meaning of this whole story of Jesus' birth and
Mhm.
his ministry here on earth. So I just loved it. What is, speaking the contents of the book, what is your favorite chapter? Or if you have a couple, what are your favorites?
Okay, so first of all, you mentioned ponderings, and at the end of each chapter, I do leave some pondering questions, and I took that from Luke chapter 2:19, where ladies, I want you to just like Mary did, I want you to just like press pause on your day and spend some time in God's word. And like Mary, she treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. So that was the
Mm,
premise of the pondering questions. I want us all to like press pause and ponder
mhm,
and do that every day. And the book is constructed so that you could spend like 15 to 20 minutes doing your devotional. First, you read the chapter in Luke and then you read the devotional, or you can sit and linger in it for an hour if you have the time. So I encourage everybody to start their day out with that because I feel like that really sets the tone of, for me, it sets my joy tone for the day.
mhm,
And I do have quite a few favorite chapters. Of course, I love the Gospel of Luke, and I have fallen in love with Dr. Luke's orderly account of what he's written about Jesus's birth, ministry, and his death on the cross. But I think it's significant for women to, as we're heading into the Christmas season, to really take a look into what's going on inside of the home of Martha and Mary, which we find in
mhm,
chapter 10. And for those of you that are not familiar with the story, in Luke chapter 10, Jesus is going into the home of Martha and Mary. They are sisters. And Martha, who I can recall which sister is which because Martha is the busy homemaker, like Martha Stewart. So that's how I
yeah.
remember it. I don't know about you
That's
guys,
good.
but so we've got Martha running around, just frantically making all the preparations for this meal. She's having a very special guest. And it says
Mhm,
in the scripture in Luke 10 that she is very distracted, and then she's looking at Mary, her sister, who I consider Mary like the little sister because she's just not, she's not doing what her big sister wants her to do. I have no idea which one was older, but this is how the
yeah.
story plays out in my mind, right?
Yeah.
So so
It's what you
Mary,
imagine.
yes, it's what
Yeah.
I imagined. So Martha is, she's distracted and she's frustrated that Mary's not helping her. And then we see Mary, what she's doing, something totally not expected in that time period is for a woman to be sitting at the feet of a teacher. And so we have
Mhm,
Mary sitting at the feet of Jesus, just spending time at his feet and soaking in what he's talking about. And Martha goes to Jesus and makes her complaints, and rightly so. I've learned that that is the place that we need to go to take our complaints. I've learned that through my journey too, and that Jesus wants to hear from us. He knows our hearts.
mhm,
He wants us to recognize, the things that we're feeling, and switch
mhm.
to the truth that we can trust him with
Right.
everything that we're going through. So Martha has done that. She's taken her complaints to Jesus, and he doesn't reprimand her, rebuke her. He just tries to redirect what she's going through, and he's saying, Martha, you're very distracted about many things, but over here
Mhm,
we have Mary sitting at my feet, and Mary today is choosing what is better.
mhm,
And so that reminds me on a daily basis, ladies, that we have to spend that time sitting at Jesus's feet so that our day doesn't get disrupted with distractions and overwhelm, and then we fly off emotionally like I used to do when I was not
mhm,
in the word every day. I was very, like I mentioned, short-tempered, and I would fly off the handle, and my joy was
mhm,
not intact. My joy was very superficial. And based on my circumstances, if I was having a good day, I might have appeared more joyful. If I was having a bad day, then you better watch out because there was no joy there to be had. So
Right.
I love, like Jesus said, Mary chose what is best. And so it's so important. And I want to encourage the
Mhm.
listeners today, if you are not in the Word every day, I want to promise you that that will definitely change your life. And it started out for me first as a discipline, but very quickly it became my daily delight. And so that is one
Mm.
of the biggest purposes of the book that I wrote. Last year, when I was blogging about it and posting these chapters, I had a lot of women join me and share that they weren't regularly in the Word, and that this really helped, like having the structure, knowing that they were going to do something and commit to it for 24 days. And I like to say in my health coaching, like, you can do anything for 21 days. Because it takes
Mhm.
21 days to start forming new habits. So now I say, well, you can do anything for 24 days because there's 24 chapters in Luke. But it just really, it was so enjoyable watching the discipline turn into delight, and hearing women testify that, wow, my days are better. I feel more joyful when I spend time in God's Word every day, and I make that a priority. And so
Mhm.
I like to, Jesus didn't say Mary's doing what is better, but my saying is choose joy. And so for me, joy is like my favorite spiritual gift that God gave me through this healing journey. Of course, I love them all, but joy is like my jam, and I love to share
Mhm.
it everywhere I go. So let's be like Mary and this Christmas season. Instead of being overwhelmed and distracted and trying to do all the things, think back to
Mhm.
last Christmas when we had such a simpler Christmas. I loved
Mhm.
the simplicity of Christmas 2020, and maybe we
Yeah.
can try to recapture that and put our priorities and remember what is important during this season and why we celebrate Advent. Advent to me is, I didn't grow up lighting Advent candles in my non denominational church, but Advent to me is more like a breathless anticipation and an expectation.
Mhm.
And the thing I look forward to the most is expecting Christ to return. And
Mhm.
that will be the ultimate joy. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's
those
so
are things
good.
to think of. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear the Mary and Martha, I laugh because I'm instantly the doer. I'm Martha,
Right.
I mean, I know to be a Mary, but I think my knee-jerk reaction is to go and do what needs to be done.
Hmm.
And because even in my head, when I'm reading that story, I'm going, well, if there wasn't Martha, who would be making the dinner or who would be making the
Exactly.
meal? And
Exactly. Right.
so I gotta go, "Stop that, Jayme, don't do that," "Don't go there,"
Hmm. Hmm.
Get into, like, why Jesus was speaking about the story, and I totally get it, but yes, I'm definitely more of the doer, and I have to intentionally tell myself, "Okay, slow it down, stop, really sit," and I got this reminder of what David did even when he was, you know, in his sorrow and his sadness. He's been
Hmm.
hurt and he still praised God. And, there was chapters where obviously he complained and was crying out to the Lord, but that there's also verses where I'll still praise you, God. I still know that you are with me. I will still have joy. And if we are constantly speaking that out and going to
Hmm.
Him and going to His Word, even when we don't feel like it, that's where I want
Hmm.
to get us at is like, we may not feel like it. Our feelings may feel, I don't want to have my quiet time. I just, want to sit. I'm depressed. I'm sad, but when we just, God meets us right where we're at. And if we
Hmm.
just cry out and just give it all to the Lord, like you're saying, just lay it right down at His feet, He can handle it.
Yes.
Everything we got going on, whether, you're angry at Him, whether you're sad at your circumstance, whatever it is, He is there with like loving arms that just wants to comfort you and just go, I understand. He grieves with you. He's sad with you. He wants to get you through it. There's going to be
Hmm.
a growth lesson once you get to the other
Yes.
side there. And you may not know it now, but eventually you will look back and go, wow, I grew through that season. So I wanted to encourage too that, not every time those feelings are matching up with what we should do.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really good. It's so true. Like, especially right now with this family trial that we're in, we're still in a season of waiting. Like, we have no
Right.
idea what is going to be the end result of this season, and we won't know for quite some time yet. And so, another Psalm of David that I love is Psalm 27. That's like our family psalm. David is going through, every whom shall I fear? And it
Mhm.
gives me great encouragement. My whole entire Bible, I'm running out of room to make notes in the margin on Psalm 27. I like to write
That's
in my Bible, but the last verse is verse 14. Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. So no matter
mm,
what season you're going through, ladies, I there's many days that I feel like you mentioned, Jayme, like just sad and sorrowful. Like, how is this going to turn out, Lord? I don't understand why you're
mm,
taking us through this. But I do have to say that every morning I wake up with those thoughts and those questions. He gives me something, some nugget in his
yeah.
word to hang on to. And
Mhm.
it's a fresh joy every day just being in his word. Even when we're in like the Psalms that are more lamenting, it just makes me feel comforted to know that he understands. And through the
Mm,
Gospel of Luke, that's one of my favorite things about the Gospel of Luke is that we get to know Jesus as fully God and yet fully man. Like, he's so relatable to us. He
mhm,
grew physically, he gained knowledge and wisdom, and he grew spiritually to, of course, our savior. But I just love how he's so relatable, and Luke lays that out so well through his gospel, and that's why it's one of my favorite books to go through of all times. And I'm going through it again right now in order to
yeah,
prepare myself. I'm actually studying through Erica Wigenhorn's Unexplainable Jesus right now too, and I love her
awesome.
insight.
Yeah,
And it's really
and
fun when we have the same insight, and I'm like, oh yeah, she got that too. So,
yeah, yeah, she was on
mhm.
the podcast not too long ago,
Oh
so
yeah,
listeners
I
can
love
hear
her.
her too. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
great. Yeah,
Hmm.
it definitely, when the scripture verse, there's, sorrow at night or, there's joy in the
The
morning.
joy comes in the morning. Yes.
Yes, and it's, I think in our minds we're thinking, "Okay, if I go to sleep, I'll wake up and there'll be joy." But it's not necessarily the 24-hour timeline, our earthly timeline, but the joy does come. And I think that there's seasons where he's telling us, take that time to grieve, be sad, but
Hmm.
I know
Hmm.
he doesn't want us to stay stuck there, and he wants to lift our heads up and have us
Hmm.
feel the joy, get the joy back in our souls again.
Yeah, ladies, for those of you that aren't in the Word every day, I challenge you through this devotional to join me. You can do anything for 24 days and just watch how, on this joy seeking adventure, how you'll be able to spot joy in the places that you would least expect it, even like Christ on Calvary. There are some joyful moments in there, and I won't give away any spoilers, but they are in there.
Yeah.
And for women that are in the Word every day, just like me, I love going through this gospel every Christmas. It just really helps set my heart and prioritize, what truly is important at Christmas time. So I invite, seasoned Bible readers to join this journey too. It just, like I said, it just being in His Word every day has completely changed my life, has completely changed my heart. And when we talk about transformation stories and testimonies, for
Mhm.
me, it all, like I had a physical healing and I had an emotional healing and spiritual healing. And it really just all comes down to like a major heart transformation. And
Mhm.
my heart is full of joy. And you can find that by being in God's word and getting to know Him
Yeah.
deeply, through His word, through prayer, through worship. I love to worship through music too. And so I just really
Mm.
encourage everybody to let's prepare our hearts for Christmas and
Yeah.
knowing that Jesus is the reason for the season. And my book is available now. It's been birthed into the world, it's been released, and it's
Mm.
available on Amazon. And I am signing and shipping a limited number of copies myself, and you can find my book at christinetrimpe.com. And again on Amazon. And also, I have some bonus chapters available. I think you'll put the links in the show notes if you want to get a
I
flavor
will.
for the style of the devotional. And I would love to share these 2 bonus chapters with you. These are extra chapters that didn't make it into the book because you can find joy in a lot of different lessons that Jesus teaches us through the Gospel of Luke. And so some of them I had to cut because I had too much material for a chapter. So it got
Yeah.
rather lengthy. So it was fun. It was fun
Oh,
writing through this journey. So come on this joy-seeking adventure with me, and let's see what Christmas has in store for us this year.
that's awesome. Well, I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah, I have my copy and I can't wait to do it with you this Christmas. I think it's going to
Mhm.
be amazing. I know I didn't Advent last Christmas. It was awesome just to slow down and keep focus, on the true importance. But I am so
Mhm.
looking forward to using yours and going through
Yeah,
it with
thank you.
you and your community. And I just thank you for coming on here and sharing with us about your story on joy. And congratulations with your new book. I know it's going to go to every hand that needs to hear this message. So praise God.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, Jayme, today and to share this good news of great joy.
Thank you so much for listening today. I trust that God has encouraged you through this message. For more information on this ministry and to access free downloads, please visit my website at jaymeelizabeth.com and sign up. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at Jayme Elizabeth She Speaks Life. That's Jayme Elizabeth She Speaks Life. Until next time, my friends, I pray God reveals Himself through your own life story.